Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Beard and the Bald. I am Paul Shirey, the Beard, joined by my compatriot, the Bald, Christopher Bumbray. Hello, Chris.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? I got a white claw. I'm opening it
Oh,
up.
man, Chris is white claw on it for this
Quarter to
episode.
three.
I got my coffee.
Quarter to three on a Sunday.
It's still a little early here. It's 10:45. So,
I just had an iced coffee though, like you're having now.
okay. I
I
just
just got
finished
back
working
from a
out.
walk.
I literally have not showered or anything. I just worked out and I was like, all right, I think I can squeeze this in today. So, which I'm glad I
So
can. We got lots to
the
talk about.
beard's getting married tomorrow, guys.
Beard is getting off the market. Sorry. Be tying the knot tomorrow here in Alaska. And that's going to be it. Sorry.
Oh, man, I wish I was coming. I wish I was there.
I would love to have you guys there. And we talked a lot. We went through the whole gamut of ideas in terms of like, oh, we'll have a big thing or a small thing or do all this different stuff. And dude, even us just doing it here in Alaska, like where I live, without any kind of major ceremony or anything, it's costing like almost like $5,000 to $6,000 just for
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's probably
wardrobe
gonna be.
and everything. It's like, holy shit. Like, and then we're like thinking about it, like, dude, if we had done a big thing, who knows how much this shit would have cost.
It's
Like,
gonna be similar. It's gonna be similar for us. I mean, we're just gonna probably get like a nice notary public or something and
yeah,
have our friends and everything. But it's a little bit off. But my father, unfortunately, he's had some health challenges lately. So but hopefully once everything settles down, we'll do something similar to what you guys are doing. I
yeah.
think that's the new way though. People are doing that these days, especially with like.
Well, it's expensive, man. Like people don't have, unless you have like, a lot of income, and we do pretty well actually. But it's like, even with that, it's like, man, it gets pricey, And then
Yeah, I would rather take that.
Yeah, I think you're
rather
going to
take
say
that
exactly what I was
money
going to say. Yeah, use that money
use it on something else. I mean, like other than one night, than a one day thing. I mean, I'd rather
exactly
put it towards a down payment or something like that, or or
a house or
car,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do.
You get a really nice honeymoon for that kind of money. So like,
exactly. Yeah, just have somebody marry you and then head off to the Bahamas or whatever. Just enjoy yourself. So,
you guys going someplace or?
Nope.
Nope.
They're here with the girls, and so we'll do the ceremony tomorrow. We're going to do it at Beluga Point, which is right off the Turnagain Arm. It's right on the Cook Inlet, so it's really pretty. Basically on a rock in the ocean. So we're gonna go get married there, take some photographs afterwards, and then we're gonna go to Sullivan's Steakhouse in Midtown, and we have a couple friends are gonna come that live here in Alaska. They're gonna come just join us for some drinks and dinner, and that's gonna be it. The end.
That sounds nice.
It'll be cool. It's more about the ceremony, and we really wanted to just include the kids, and
then you'll give Maria your flower.
I might have messed that up in order to give it away like 5 years ago. Oops. I broke all the rules.
No rules. Good for you, man. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Happy for
man.
you.
I appreciate that. And I look forward to when you guys are doing your thing. I'll be super excited for you guys. Because I love Laura and Chris. I love you guys. I always will.
She's working out in the other room, so I can just hear her grunting.
Yeah. I love you, baby.
God damn it.
Like I said, I just worked out with Maria, and she kind of kicked my ass. She's like,
what were you guys doing? Well, she does her, she's like an instructor.
yeah, so she's getting ready to do this surge fit thing. That's like this, it's another one of those things they teach at gyms and stuff. And so I had
she does HIIT, right?
Yeah, it's like HIIT style stuff. So that's what like surge and high fit and all these other things. So she's basically an aerobics instructor.
Laura's doing HIIT now, I think.
Yeah, it's fucking
but she was, man, I can hear her when she's doing HIIT because I can hear the stomping, and then the neighbor is going.
I did Murph a couple days ago.
Yeah, you did the Murph. Hey, holy shit! I saw your photos. Oh, that looks. I could never do that. I might have to train for a year to be able to do that, I think.
It was so, oh my God. And I talked to my brother, who is super, super into CrossFit and all this other stuff. And he did it yesterday. And he's like, I talked to him this morning. He's like, dude, I'm dying. He's like, I'm just laying on my couch and I can't even get comfortable. I was like, yeah, it took me like 3 days. Like I'm still getting over it. Because Murph is just no joke, but we do it every year. Just, not just in memory of Michael Murphy, but just kind of in memory for Memorial Day for, the soldiers that we lost. So it's a good
I'm putting up I'm putting up tomorrow. One of our editors, Jeremy Hamley, did a really nice tribute to Saving Private Ryan with some like nice voiceover by Travis Hobson and stuff. And
Oh, cool.
but then we got flagged for limited ads. And Berge was telling me that apparently YouTube, certain movies almost automatically get flagged, and it's always war movies. And he said that you wouldn't believe it, but he says that anytime you post something involving Jojo Rabbit, like a clip, they get flagged for limited ads. And it was such a family-friendly movie. And he said it's just upsetting content. And he said that you can always request a manual review, and they'll always pass it usually. But it's crazy how they always like flag those movies, and they flagged Saving Private Ryan. We're gonna run it anyway because it's a nice Memorial Day tribute.
Yeah, it's a good tribute.
Why not?
That's cool. That's very cool.
Speaking of Memorial Day, though, boy, a good Memorial Day weekend for my best friend Tom Cruise.
Your buddy.
I'm wearing my Top Gun shirt. So here's an interesting story. We just got back from a walk, and I went into a butcher shop to buy some stuff for barbecuing tonight because the weather is quite nice here. And this guy behind the counter, this French guy, he's like, "Hey, did you guys go see that movie yet?" Because he saw my shirt was Top Gun. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I saw it like a couple months ago at CinemaCon." And he was like, "That was like one of the best movies I've ever seen." The guy said, and it was like, and everybody that I know on Facebook are posting the same thing. Paul Schrader wrote the other day how much he liked it. Oh, and wow. you wouldn't think that Paul Schrader would be into Top Gun, but he was like writing this thing like despite himself he liked it. And it seems like I haven't talked to anybody that's gone to see it that hasn't loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah. And it's exactly the right, like if for that kind of movie, I think it's the perfect version of that film, right? Like almost like Fury Road in that way. Like, I don't know that you necessarily could have done, like, I think what they wanted to do with it, they made the perfect version of that movie.
Yeah, it's funny because I just wrote an article that's for Screen Rant that it's not up yet. But basically it is a breakdown of whether kind of a compare and contrast of Top Gun to Top Gun Maverick, and basically to kind of, come to the conclusion, is Top Gun Maverick better than Top Gun? It's a tough call.
Yeah, it'd be tough to say. In some ways it is, I think, but like, and it's funny because I interviewed Glenn Powell the other day.
I saw that.
And I had a pretty good interview with him, and he was telling me, because he flies, like he's actually a pilot. And one of the things about Top Gun Maverick, and this is one of the things I asked him, he went into a big kind of rant about it, is that it's the first time I ever saw a movie about flying where I really kind of had an idea of what the physical challenge of that is, right? Like, the parts where they're doing the climb, and then you see like they're like, and they're passing out, and they're coming into like how physically difficult that is. And he said that was like, for him, that was, as a pilot, that was one of the reasons he wanted to do the movie, because they had this commitment to realism that you never get really. And it's not even, they don't even really have that in the first Top Gun. They do to some extent for the era, they do. But in this one, like, him and I were talking about, when you watch like Star Wars or something like that, and people are like zipping around from one place to another, and there's no real, like, they're just like, like it's kind of, when you watch something like Top Gun, the commitment to realism and how physically difficult it is and how dangerous it is and how you have people passing out, and then you come to and you got to fly the fucking plane, like it's for me, I don't know that I've ever seen a movie that was that, that really gave, that's that immersive is what I would call it.
Yes. Very, I think immersive is the right word.
Yeah. And I don't know that I've seen like a blockbuster in a long time that felt like that, where you get an idea of the physical challenge and mental challenge of being a pilot, and going through what they do, like it's really, like, I thought that aspect of it, I think, is actually better than the original Top Gun. That said, though, the original Top Gun is so, it's hard to be critical. It's really hard to be critical about it, because it's such a part of the pop culture, and every moment is iconic, and the music, and there's so many things, and I think it's impossible to reverse engineer something like that,
Well, so this was because when I had to like kind of decide if one was better than the other, I ultimately gave the edge to Top Gun. And the reason is because ultimately, as great as Top Gun Maverick is, and it is great, everything about Top Gun Maverick hinges on Top Gun.
Yeah.
There's so much payoff that comes from the original Top Gun. And I feel that Top Gun Maverick, it's a more mature, and it's a more kind of almost sobering film in that way, especially for Maverick. I think character wise, you like, he's called a dinosaur, and he's facing, this point in his career where it's over, it's done, like at this point in Maverick's career, he is going to have to retire. Now that doesn't mean he couldn't keep flying, but he couldn't keep flying for the Navy. Like that's
no, and then at the end of the movie, he's not, like, he's broken every rule. He's out.
He's done. Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, like Top Gun,
he doesn't have ice around to protect him.
Right. So Top Gun, you're seeing at the end, you're seeing the beginning of his career, which could have gone anywhere. And Top Gun Maverick, we're seeing the end of his career. There's a whole, 36-year gap there of whatever his career was, whatever he did, all these different adventures that he had and all this other stuff. But ultimately, I think the things that stand out for Top Gun is one of the biggest is Tony Scott. Nobody films like Tony Scott. And I just watched Top Gun again in 4K on my TV at home, and it looks astounding. It looks amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I've seen it actually in theaters a few times because they've done various re-releases over the years, and I find that it really holds up extremely well. And I just did a revisited episode.
There's people out there that write these hit pieces like, oh, can we finally admit that Top Gun sucks? It's like, no, you can't, because it's fucking.
Well, it doesn't.
Like you're dead wrong. Like, nice try on your hot take to get this, but Top Gun is actually amazing. Like truly amazing.
Well, I mean, the thing that has also been interesting about Top Gun Maverick, though, is if you go on Twitter, like the usual suspects, the people that you think would be the ones to knock it down, are really enjoying it. I think it's one of those things where you can't, it's the culmination of like Cruise's career in some ways. And I think that it's a much richer movie.
I think that's what it is. Top Gun Maverick is the perfect love letter to Top Gun. And that's why Top Gun, I think, is the better film, even though they are both great. That's plain and simple. But I also will say this: Top Gun does have better, more interesting, charismatic characters, especially the pilots, than Top Gun Maverick. I did not find myself as involved, and you don't really get to know the personalities as much outside of Rooster and Hangman. Those two characters you get to know a little bit, but the other ones just kind of, ultimately a little bit forgettable. They just didn't have that kind of, interesting like personality stuff going on. There just wasn't really distinct. I think the movie, to me, though, is like it all hinges on, it's the payoff to Goose and Maverick's relationship too. And they pay that off beautifully.
Yeah, I thought that they really did that in a really good way, because I like the fact that Rooster doesn't hate him because of what happened to Goose. That has nothing to do with it, because it was a mistake. It was an error. What could happen to anybody. And I like the fact that they kind of acknowledge that Maverick has been like a father to him. But then, it was like his getting his papers chucked. That's what did the relationship in. And I like the fact that he never reveals that it was the mom that asked him to do that over the course of the movie.
Keeps it quiet. Yeah, I like that line where he's like, why should he resent both of us? Why should he?
Because he would. That's the thing. That's what Maverick would do. And it's kind of, and I like that the fact that Hangman, if you watch the movie, everybody's comparing him to Ice, but he's not like Ice. He's like Maverick, and he's got the same arc as Maverick does in the first movie. Like Rooster is like Ice.
Yeah, it's true. And their dynamic plays between Rooster and Hangman is really nice.
Rooster is Ice. Rooster's the by the book guy, where Hangman's the guy that's like the rebel.
He's like the rebel. He's
that
like
gets like drummed out of the mission and then saves the day. Yeah.
And I will say I loved and this is spoiler territory for anybody that's, has not seen it, but I absolutely loved the ending when he gets the F-14 Tomcat of flight. Like, to me, that was like chef's kiss, beautiful, perfect. Like that was like, and again, a true love letter to Top Gun. And I actually
thought he was going to die though. When I saw it at CinemaCon, when he took the missile for Rooster, I thought he was dead, to be honest. Like for a second. I think he's dead, and that was it.
And I think that's a credit to the film that you would think that he's dead. Where you're like, holy shit, because the film does play in a way that you're like, it is very much kind of Maverick coming to terms with his legacy, and very much about it ending, and very much about Maverick kind of going out on his own terms. So in many ways, you're like, whoa, did he die for real? I believe that they would actually kill him, but fortunately they didn't. And that's what's great about the film is like, he doesn't die. And then it's like, you get this payoff with him, with Goose, with Rooster, and even in an F-14 Tomcat, like they really paid such careful attention to detail, and it's almost a fan service style ending, but it actually makes perfect sense, and it's amazing. It's a great
well, and then just them like working on the plane at the end of the movie, you know, and
yeah,
it was kind of, you know, it was a great moment. And I mean, it's made so much money though. Like it's weird because I don't think anybody thought it was going to do as well as it did. People thought it would do okay at CinemaCon, but they were like, oh, let's really go out and support this movie because it's a risky film. But now it's probably going to be the biggest grossing movie of the year. Like it has a very good chance of doing that because it opened 150.
It's gonna be something special, I think. And I'll tell you, you know, like
the cinema score is A+, which is pretty rare.
It's such a crowd pleaser. And I think, you know, too, like, you know, you're talking about how, you know, the guy at the butcher shop was talking to you about it. I think I said last week on the podcast, I was at the gym, I was wearing my Top Gun shirt, and a guy just started talking to me about it. I was wearing that same shirt the other day at the grocery store, and it was a kid checking me out. This, like, you know, probably 18-year-old kid was ringing me through, and he was like, "You seen the movie yet?" I was like, it's not out yet.
Like it's really,
it's like a teenage kid. Like everybody wants to see this movie, and I think that speaks volumes to the power of Top Gun. And I think that you know, Cruise is really going to see. He's going to see some massive success with this that he hasn't seen in a while. Which is what this is his first $100 million opener in like a decade, even with the Mission Impossible.
It's going to pay off well for the next Mission Impossible. That's for sure. Yeah,
for sure. And you know, I don't know, like I feel like there's some setup there, kind of in that Creed style fashion, that they could continue Top Gun. Don't wait another 36 years to make one. You know, think about it, come up with a good story, but you could easily continue stories with Rooster, with Hangman, and even have Maverick there as a kind of mentor, you know, almost like a Louis Gossett Jr. in Iron Eagle, ironically enough.
I was just talking with Laura about that. Like now you're inevitably going to see Top Gun clones come out again. And I was like, maybe now's the time for your Iron Eagle reboot.
I got a great script, people.
You can play Chappie.
I would love to do it. And what's ironic is my script has John Hamm as the Louis Gossett Jr. character. And I was thinking someone like John Boyega as the Jason Gedrick character, but it could be anyone.
You switch the races. That's kind of
cool. The races, yeah, like swap them out. Because like, why not?
I liked Hamm and Maverick too. I thought he was good.
Yeah, he was good.
I like the role, and I like that he's not like a total asshole. Like it's kind of, you know.
Yeah, he kind of comes around. Yeah, but I like
you know,
and Charles Parnell I thought was great, and I thought
I like that at the end when Charles Parnell's like, you know, like. But I like who was good in it though, this young actor named Val Kilmer.
Oh yeah, young actor, man. I mean that scene. Let's talk about
that. Was a powerful scene. People in the theater were like.
I'll tell you, that scene and that whole moment that made me feel very old. In 1986, you know, I was 9, and you know, I saw the movie, you know, around probably I saw it in the theaters, and then I saw it again on VHS. So you know, I saw it at 9 years old, but you know, those guys were in their 20s when they made it, which is, you know, about, you know, what, 12, 15 years older than me. Seeing Top Gun Maverick, you think, okay, 10 to 15 years from now, you know, you're starting to get close to where these guys are. It's again a sobering view, and it's a reminder.
They're 20 years older than me, I think. Well, they're I mean, he was born in 59 for Kilmer was born in 59 and Cruise was born in 62. So they're about 20 some odd years older, but
about 15 years older for me. So
I saw Top Gun not in theaters, but when it came out, I remember it hit Canadian HBO First Choice, and it was the first movie. I was 5 years old, and it was the first movie I ever remember recording on VHS.
Oh, yeah.
I got a blank VHS tape for Christmas, and I like just in the stocking stuffer, and then it was like a Pulsar is what it said, and I remember I put it in, and the first movie I taped was Top Gun. And it was because I'd seen the previews and I was like, I want to watch this movie with the planes. And then I remember Top Gun. I had Howard the Duck and then something else. And I would just rewind the tape and watch it over again the whole day, just over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And Top Gun for me, it's elemental, you know, like it is part of my DNA, you know, like it's hard for me almost to look at it, you know, critically in some ways, you know, but I mean, you know, I thought I loved the dynamic with Ice. I like the fact that they've been friends over the years and that Ice has protected him. And I love the last moment where Ice is like, I was always the better flyer than you were. And then Maverick is like,
he's like,
it's been a really nice moment. Let's not ruin it.
I love that there's still kind of like that. There's
Yeah.
still a rivalry, even if it's like a
Yeah.
friendly rivalry at that point.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty fun.
I love
Yeah,
that on his phone, his name from his Ice.
ice, fire, or clear. Yeah,
I
it's
like that he just says Ice.
it was it was a sad scene in many ways, but it was a fitting, again, a love letter, a fitting tribute that really puts a kind of a perfect cap on the Top Gun story, on Maverick's Top Gun story. I think it closes Maverick's story perfectly. I don't think that has to be the end of Top Gun, but I think it should be the end of Maverick as the main thrust of the story. So if they do more Top Guns, I think, yeah, it should be Teller and Powell. I think those guys should be kind of like your next focus for Top Gun, and have Maverick slide into a mentor type role. Again, go from the Creed model. I think the Creed model is a perfect way to continue it. So
I also,
ultimately, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, now I forgot what I was going to say. So the thing about Kilmer, I was just reading, we just did a story about Willow, about the TV
series. Willow.
And apparently they wanted him to be in it, but he couldn't get clearance for COVID because of the health rules. But apparently Matt Mardigan isn't necessarily dead, and they're going to refer to him, so he might be in like season 2 or something. And it's one of those things, like, I mean, Kilmer's still around. I think people shouldn't act like he's dead, because he's not. I mean, he had a health problem. You could make him mute. You could say that he got slashed in the throat with a sword, or that he was sick, and you could have him come back theoretically in that role.
There's a lot that they can do. I mean, look at what they're doing with Mark Hamill in The Mandalorian. Like Hamill's shooting all those scenes in The Mandalorian with Luke Skywalker, or in Book of Boba Fett with, what looks like a CGI Luke, is actually Mark Hamill on set. And then they do the de-aging thing. I don't see why they can't do something similar for Val. You know what I'm saying?
They might have, though. They might have. Or like, we might see Willow and he might show up at some point.
Well, and they said that Val is involved with Willow. He's involved with it, but they didn't say he's appearing. They said he's involved. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of those kids in the Willow trailer are like the offspring of
well, she's in it. She's in it.
Joanne Wally Kilmer. She's in it. So I would not be surprised in the least that one of the kids in that movie is their child. I think that would be, Matt Mardigan and Joanne Wally Kilmer's kid. I
just hope they haven't killed him off, though, because I'd like to see him come in, because Kilmer's not dead. That's the thing. He's had health problems, but he's not dead. And I was even kind of sad that they killed him off in Top Gun, but it was fitting for the character.
Yeah,
I think. But it's just like he isn't dead. That's the thing. He's still alive. He's had some challenges, but he's out there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, anyways, I loved Top Gun Maverick. I know you've seen it a couple times. We're actually going to see it again.
No, I've only seen it the one time, but I'm going again
tomorrow,
Memorial Day, so we're kind of off with the website. So I'm going to go see it in the nice VIP theater in the afternoon.
Nice. So we're going today. We're actually going to go here in a couple hours. We're taking the whole family, the whole kit and caboodle's going. So I'm very excited to watch it again. In the end, I think that both Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick are outstanding films. I think Top Gun is the better of the two if you have to choose. Top Gun Maverick does not have the kind of rock and roll, like badass aesthetic that only Tony Scott could do. And to Kaczynski's credit, he doesn't really try to ape that, because I think it would have been a mistake if they had done that, to be honest. Yeah, and Kaczynski he's definitely more of a technical director, which is not a bad thing. That's not a negative thing. He just has a very different style than someone like Tony Scott. So I think I love that there is a Tony Scott tribute at the end. Like, that is amazing. I think it's great.
Well, what I like about it also is I find the two movies, like, they really do go together like bookends. And I think that anybody who sees this will go back and watch the original, absolutely. And I think that you would be well advised to watch the original before you see Maverick, because there's so much payoff. Definitely. It will definitely. But it's similar to me. It's similar to what Creed did, though, because like you said, like Creed got people going back and rewatching the Rocky movies and put those movies way back in the zeitgeist in a way that they hadn't been for a couple of years. So, it's a benefit in the end. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, Top Gun is great. And I'm sure we're going to see it continue to do excellent in the box office. Unfortunately, there's another project that's come out that's been long in the making that I don't think is as great. And I hate to even say that out loud, but I'm not loving Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus as of yet. There's certain things that I like.
but on the whole, it is a very clumsy start to what should be a much better show.
Well, it's already a third done. That's the thing. It's only 6 episodes, so we're already kind of, a third of the way in. I liked it more than you did, but it's not, I mean, but then again, I mean, I didn't think the prequels were perfect either. There are things that I like about it, and there are things that I don't like about it. I mean, I think that Ewan McGregor is as good as ever as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Ewan's not the problem at all.
I loved the way that episode 2 ended. I thought that was really cool. When he finds out about,
I mean, that's cool. But anytime you show Vader, it's just like Rogue One. Like Vader showed up at the end in a scene that was shot after the movie was done. And everybody thinks Rogue One is a masterpiece, but I think what happens is people see Vader and then they're like, oh, but that Vader scene was so cool that it justifies the rest of a mostly mediocre movie. And people are like, oh, it was so great. And it's like, was it though? Or were you just like psyched out over this fucking Vader scene that was badass? And I think that that's kind of what happened with the second episode of Obi-Wan. It leaves you on a tease where you're like, yes, please.
There are some bad moments though in Obi-Wan. Like I really don't like the whole. I really don't like the Leia stuff, and like the kid
Leia should not be in this show. Plain and simple. No. I think it is a terrible choice that they've done.
And that little chase sequence was ridiculous. Like,
I mean, two, not one, two chase sequences. Here's the biggest problem with that whole thing is, first off, I'm sure that this little girl is a great, sweet, wonderful child. She's not a good actress. And just because she's young does not mean she can't take some criticism. She's just not a good actress. Okay. Nothing against her whatsoever. She's a child and she's.
Well, I just don't think that they need to have the child in it. Like, I think it's funny. Laura was saying this, that one of the reasons that Grogu works so well is because he's not real. Like that's
exactly.
Like, maybe if you're gonna have a child in it, it should be like computer animated, like little creature or something like that.
Yeah, and just because Mandalorian does it doesn't mean that Obi-Wan has to do it. And that was one of the things.
I know that was the point of them scrapping what they were originally going to do because they didn't want it to be too similar to Mandalorian. But then it's the same thing, though.
Yeah, exactly. Then they just shoehorn in Leia. Like, what the fuck? You should have stuck with the original thing. It would have been better. Why they have to bring in Leia, I just don't agree with it. I think it's a poor creative decision. And I just think the actress is not very good. And you have two chase sequences where people are trying to catch this 10-year-old girl. And again, not trying to be, in any way insulting to this child, but she's not like a gymnast or like highly trained. So she just kind of runs like a kid runs. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no like acrobatics. You're like, oh shit, that kid can move. She's just kind of like Steven Seagal running down the street at half speed. And I'm like, you have these, monstrous bounty hunters that are like basically chasing her through the woods, right? And every moment you see, they can just grab her, and it's like being in a haunted house. They get up to her and they're like, roar, and then she just runs another way. I'm like, dude, fucking grab her. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just, it's honestly, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because Lucasfilm is supposed to be, this is Disney. This is, you expect more. I expect more. If you're going to try and convince me of a chase sequence of a 10-year-old getting away, I can buy it if you can sell it. But this is just embarrassingly bad. The problem with, they do it a second time, like, oh, she's running away again, and a fucking Jedi Knight can't catch her. Fuck off.
I was reading something interesting about Disney and their model of doing shows, and there's a reason that the shows aren't very good. It's because they film it all, they budget it, and they script it like they're doing 6-hour movies. And the thing is, you can't really do it that way because TV is a different medium.
Yeah.
And they do that, and then they cheap out on things, right? Where it's like they'll have a budget and they're like, okay, so this episode gets this much, this much, this much, this much. Whereas with a show, like there's an ebb and flow to it, and you've got to, and it's a much different type of model. And I think that if you were to put Obi-Wan against the new season of Stranger Things, which I've been binging on this weekend, you can really see how, Stranger Things is really, really well done and I think it's a great season because they know that model and they know exactly how to do that story. And there's an ebb and flow to it, which is perfect. Whereas Obi-Wan, it feels like you've seen like the first third of a movie that's mediocre, and it's not, but it's not like TV. It's just like you've watched a third of a mediocre film, and it'll probably have good moments. And I imagine the last episode will probably be pretty cool. but everything up to it is like shit though, or is just boring. Whereas with a show, you really need to capture the audience in a different way. And I think Disney is almost been a victim of its own success in certain ways, because the thing is, Star Wars and Marvel fans are completists and will watch everything, but it's not creatively, it's not benefiting it. And they have movie people involved, whereas they need TV people involved, I think.
Yeah. Well,
like, I think if the Duffer Brothers were to go and do a Disney show, like a Marvel show or a Star Wars show, you would see something really good. Like that's almost what they need. They need TV people instead of movie people.
And listen, all due respect to Deborah Chow. I know that she's probably doing her best, but
I don't think she's to blame. I think she's doing a good enough job.
I think she is. I mean, like, because she allowed that stuff to get done and be like, okay, that's fine. Like the chase sequences and stuff like that.
Do you really think she has any power at all, though, in that regards, though? I mean,
well, someone's got to take the hit here. Like, because there's decisions made that you and I and plenty of other people can watch and be like, that's not good. Like, it's just not good. I can't imagine somebody watched that and said, okay, that's good. That's good. And it's like, is no one going to speak up here?
I liked it more than you did. And I think that, I didn't.
I'm not saying on the whole. I'm talking about specific sequences where
I didn't love it. I thought it was okay, but I've never really loved any of the Disney shows, except for I think Mandalorian season 2 I really liked. But then that was kind of about it.
I've loved anything Mandalorian, like the Book of Boba Fett episodes with Mandalorian are great. And I loved WandaVision and a little bit of Loki, but that's about it. Like most of Moon Knight was atrocious. And now, man, I just had such high hopes for Obi-Wan. And I think that they are continuing to fall into this trap of ultimately not taking any risks. And I know, look, we're only 2 episodes in, but as you said, there's 6 episodes total.
There's only 4 left. So it's,
I feel like there's just no risks being taken with this material. They're playing it very safe. They're playing it very, what's going to appeal to the most amount of people? Mm-hmm. This is not how making entertainment to appeal to the most amount of people is maybe a fiscally good way to go, but that doesn't guarantee that it's going to hit either. I would rather them take risks with some of this material and play with it a little more, expand on it, rather than doing the most safe, silly, ridiculous thing. Like, well, what if we have Leia Organa? I was like, isn't the show called Obi-Wan Kenobi? Like,
what do you think of what do you think of Reva, the new villain?
It's just not good.
Yeah, a lot of people are mixed up on that. I don't mind her so far. I mean, I think that it's
acting
cool that
is just not good, and I don't blame the actress. I think like I'll tell you what it feels like. I think
we're not used to Americans in those roles. That's the thing. We're almost used to like a British villainy kind of.
I mean, honestly, it really. I think what it comes down to is it feels like I'm watching a rehearsal. Does that make sense? Like, it feels like she hasn't found the character yet, is what it feels like. And I feel like it's just woefully underdeveloped. And that, again, this is where I do place some blame to Chow, where it's like, how do you not see this? How do you not see that this performance is not where it should be? Like, it needs more work. It needs more development. It needs a lot more invested. And you could say, well, we didn't have time. We just had to do it. And I'm like, well, then you're going to have to take your critical hits, because personally, I just don't think that Reva comes off as a compelling character. She's just very
I'm sure that they're going to reveal more about her. I mean, I think she's one of the Padawan that escapes in the first episode. I think that's the whole reason you saw that.
The whole reason that they showed that.
Yeah, and then maybe people will like it more afterwards once you get some more development.
Well, and as you know, you made the point too of like, they're filming these as a 6-hour movie. If you watched a movie, if you watched a third of a movie and then turned it off, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're totally hooked. Because a lot of times you just see that whole movie to be like, So watching this in a serialized, they're not, and this is where they're fucking it up. They're fucking up their own formula. Just as you said, they're getting in their own way, is that they're filming this as one big 6-hour movie rather than filming in episode to episode to episode. It doesn't feel episodic, Mm-hmm. And so you miss out on that stuff because, like, say, let's look at something like Yellowstone, right? When you finish an episode of Yellowstone, you are dying to watch the next episode.
Because they know how to do TV. That's the thing. And that's how TV works. It's like a TV is like an old serial, like they used to have in the 40s.
Which is what Lucas modeled everything after for Star Wars.
And it's got to end like on a peak. And then you have peaks and valleys and things. You got to be able to negotiate that with the show. Whereas this one, it's all just kind of, So and then it's going to go up at the end, and then people are going to be like, the last couple episodes are great, but it's just, they're not making compelling TV. They're making 6-hour movies.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I hope that it comes together a little better, to the point that I'm just like, okay,
it's going to be one of those things that it's going to be when the season's over, we're going to be like, okay, well, that was like a 4-hour movie or whatever. Yeah. If it was 2 hours, it would have been a really good movie, right? Like it'll be like a too long movie.
I just hope that it's,
yeah.
I just want it to be good. I had you and I both, we've talked about this before they ever announced it, how much we wanted to see it.
Did you ever think it was going to be amazing though? Like, I never thought it would be amazing.
I hoped it would be. Like, I really did. I guess I maybe that's my own fault for like, just hoping against hope that, it would be something great. But
have you watched any Stranger Things yet?
No, because I watched Obi-Wan, and then I had Maria and the girls showed up, so I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I'm dying to. My son started watching it, and he's been enjoying it, but I haven't been able to.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm super excited. I can't wait to get into it.
It's funny though. One of the things we were talking about, Laura and I, is that David Harbour, he's in much better shape now. So I think they put him in that Russian prison to explain like why he didn't have to regain a bunch of weight to play Hopper after doing for the last couple of years. So he's like lean, and you see him doing push-ups, and he's got like a lot of fight scenes with like Marvel type moves, where it's like, this is the stuff that he learned from the Russo brothers doing like Extraction and like Black Widow and stuff. Like they built in like a lot of,
and Hellboy, don't forget Hellboy.
And Hellboy. So, and he's in much better shape now. And it's kind of cool. Like they've kind of, I like it a lot. I'm enjoying it a lot. The only thing is though, it takes place 6 months after the last season, which was 3 years ago. And the kids are all so old now because they're all
like, how's it going?
Well, they're like 19 and 20. Like that's the thing. Like it's like, and they're significantly older.
Well, and it's, the Duffer Brothers said that this is the beginning of the end. And they do have to kind of wrap it up because the kids are going to grow. That doesn't mean, I don't think has to be the end of Stranger Things, but it has to end the kids' stories because kids grow so fucking fast.
But you could also have them, you could come back to them later on as
that's what I'm saying. You could come back when they're adults and you could do Stranger Things for fucking ever. But in terms of doing the kids' story, they're gonna have to wrap it up because the motherfuckers, they're gonna be in their 20s. You're only gonna be able to buy it for so long.
I'm enjoying it though, and it's gorier than other seasons, like because I think the audience has grown with the kids, so they've gone more adult in this season, which is kind of cool.
I can't wait.
Not like overboard, but it's gorier. It's a lot like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, kind of, which is cool.
And it has Robert Englund in it, so
yes, it does. Small role, but he's good. Yeah.
So you mentioned Russo brothers, and we haven't really talked about The Gray Man at all, but the new trailer dropped for The Gray Man. What are your thoughts on that?
The thing is, I had an interesting chat with a couple of the guys at the website when the trailer dropped, because we were trying to find like money shots to put up like as our thumbs, and we couldn't find anything that looked really, really compelling. And I think that's kind of interesting into itself, because I think that it's so hyperactive, but I think they put a lot of money into it, and I'm sure it's going to be full of action. But the trailer for it came up the day after the Mission Impossible trailer.
Yep.
And if you put those back to back, Mission Impossible is beautiful, right? And there are so many money shots. Any single shot from that trailer is like a painting, right? It's like it's so perfectly composed and artistic and gorgeous. Whereas The Gray Man is just like a jumbled mess, and it's low res and it's not great. So to me, that's the real difference between the two. You've got A-list movie and then a cool kind of TV-ish thing. And I feel like Gray Man.
Russo brothers are A-list. They have, the second highest gross.
Sure they are, but they're doing something for Netflix, and they're doing it in a Netflix house style. Yeah. rather than like an A-list movie. And I think that it'll be good.
It still feels like a Russo brothers movie. It feels, honestly, to me, it feels like a Marvel action movie. That's not superhero, but like a Marvel action movie. And that's where I think it'll
be fine, but I don't think it's going to be that good. I'm sure that when Mission Impossible comes out, we're going to be like, oh, that's an amazing movie. Whereas The Gray Man, I think it'll be very entertaining. I'm sure that I'll like it, but I don't think it'll be like list drop dead like amazing film.
I think
I don't think
that
Netflix has figured out how to make a blockbuster yet, to be honest, like a real
well,
blockbuster.
and Gray Man is a huge investment for that, because that wasn't on the cheap. That was actually on the expense. So
I mean, it's got a great cast. It's got a really good cast, and apparently the source material is really good. I do think though that the Terminal List looks better because I saw the trailer. I saw the trailer for the Terminal List, and that to me looks more like that looks more compelling.
Terminal List is going to be, so this is what I was going to bring up. Gray Man is PG-13. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah,
you're trying to make a hardcore action movie PG-13. I don't know that, and it's not that it has to be super bloody and gory, but it should be something where you don't have to pull punches. Whereas
Mission Impossible is PG-13, so but it's that kind of big.
It's just like a different finesse to Mission Impossible, though. But like Terminal List will be an unrated kind of thing. Like it'll be mature rated, where they don't have to worry about a PG-13. And I read the Terminal List book by Jack Carr, and I find that I'm actually trying to get some of those people on the podcast for Terminal List, because I'm talking to them about potentially showing up. But I think that's going to have a much more mature actiony theme than you're going to get with.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to watch the Terminal List, and we're going to love the Terminal List, and I think that the Gray Man will enjoy it, but I don't think we'll be like, oh, I was blown away by it, Well,
and Terminal List has, again, it's a series. It's got a much longer thing,
but even the visual style of the Terminal List, though, because it's got Fuqua doing it, and I think it's more. I feel like he's a better filmmaker than the Russo brothers. I think the Russo brothers are good at doing like action and spectacle, and did a great job on Winter Soldier and did a great job on Avengers, but they also have that whole Marvel team working with them and the best people everywhere. I don't know on their own.
Their last direct to streaming movie, Cherry, was a fucking disaster.
No, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. And I don't know if giving these guys like complete creative control is even that great of a thing. Like, I think that they do action very well. And I'm sure that the Gray Man will have good action, but I feel like it's going to be on the level of Extraction. It'll be entertaining, but it's not going to be like something that it'll do well. And I'm sure that it'll probably launch a franchise for them, but it's going to be like Extraction. We're going to watch it. We're like, oh, that was a really cool movie. 7 or maybe an 8 on 10. Whereas I think that, maybe the next Mission Impossible is going to come out and we're going to be like, whoa, this really pushed the envelope. Like that was explosive. That was amazing.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to Bullet Train too, in terms of action movies. So,
I mean, I can tell you, I saw the first 20 minutes of Bullet Train, and it's really good. And that is also like a film.
Yeah. And that's David Leitch, who, again, that's somebody that has kind of
the action design of
modern action genre.
Really interesting, because the thing is, from what I've seen of Bullet Train, is that it's not Brad Pitt doing John Wick. It's Brad Pitt doing Jackie Chan. Yeah, and it's really cool
because that's what Leitch said. That's what he wanted to use. Yeah. That's his inspiration for that.
And you've never seen Brad Pitt do stuff like that before. And what's really cool about it is that, like, so he's unarmed and they're all super. So he's improvising, using like bottles and using things like to kind of. And he's not on the attack, he's on the defense. And I think that that's really cool. And that's not done very often in action movies, so I think that's what's going to make Bullet Train, I think really stand out. And I could see that becoming a huge hit, because we're not used to seeing Brad Pitt do that kind of movie. And I think that is the one thing that the Gray Man definitely has going for it, though, is that Ryan Gosling's, never done a movie like that before. So that could theoretically really work in Gray Man's favor.
Yeah,
but
I think Gosling and Evans will likely sell that better than anything. I think a lot of it will hinge on their chemistry as hero and villain. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But I think it's the PG-13 aspect that kind of rubs me the wrong way.
But I am more excited to see Terminal List than Gray Man.
Same. And screeners for that should be coming out very soon.
Yeah, I just got The Boys. They set the whole season for The Boys.
They gave you the whole season? Damn.
Yeah.
So let's see. What else did we have to talk about today? Star Wars Celebration. Quite a few things were dropped for Celebration.
We had Alex Mady there. He was having a ball. One of the stories that we wrote while we break. everybody was excited about Liam Neeson coming back as Qui-Gon to do a voiceover cameo in that animated show. Like, who cares? He'll probably show up in Obi-Wan as a Force ghost at some point.
I feel like he should have showed up in episode 1.
Yeah.
I feel like, the whole part where that's the way they left it in episode 3 of the prequels, where Yoda's like, I have training for you to do, to talk to Qui-Gon. And I'm like, okay, so we're 10 years in and Obi-Wan's still not talking to him. So he's just not doing the training or what? Like, I feel like there's a missed opportunity there. And maybe that's just like me wrapped up in my own fan theory.
The message that I think we got from Star Wars Celebration is that there's a lot of Star Wars coming, but it's the future of Star Wars is on TV though. Like, they're not really doing much.
Yeah, they didn't talk much about the film stuff. Kathleen Kennedy said that she's having meetings with Taika. It sounds like Taika Waititi's movie will be the next film to hit theaters. And Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron is a ways off. But it looks like we have Andor coming out at the end of summer. I thought the Andor trailer actually looked really good. It definitely looks more like kind of a political thriller Star Wars show. Like, you even see like the Senate chambers and all that other stuff. So it definitely seems like it's going to be more of a political intrigue kind of show. And then the announcement that Mandalorian and Ahsoka will be coming out next year is good.
The show that I think is going to be the best, honestly, is Willow. I think Willow's going to be good because I think you could do a lot with Willow. I think you could do a lot. The only thing I don't like about the trailer is the music, because I wanted more of the James Horner music, because that was so good in the original, and it's too bad he's not with us anymore. But like,
but they do still have the theme play. Had it playing at the beginning and then at the end. So
yeah, but it wasn't like in the Willow-esque. It wasn't in the same, like, you can tell when it's Horner's version. You can tell when it's somebody doing like orchestration to make it sound more like Star Wars. And I don't like that as much, but I am excited to see Warwick Davis back, though. I've always had a soft spot for Warwick Davis. I like the cast, so I think it'll be fun.
Another show that was announced is Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is what John Watts basically left Fantastic Four.
That's interesting. And then Jude Law. With
Jude Law as basically the lead character, who's going to be sounds like he's going to have some type of mentor, father style role for a group of kids that are lost in space. So it sounds like it's kind of a lost in space kind of show, because the whole thing is they're like trying to get back home to their planet, and they're basically lost. So we've never heard of Star Wars characters being lost in space. So
I do hope he's the hero though, and not the villain. Everybody's saying he's probably going to be the villain.
I think he's going to be the hero, because if you listen to Kathleen Kennedy's comments about it, she said, I worked with Jude Law during AI, and he is the perfect person to work with a group of kids. So that sounds to me like someone that's going to be working with the kids in a much closer role than just like a villain. So
it sounds like this TV movie that I saw as a kid in the 80s, Earth Star Voyager. Do you ever see that?
I don't think I
was on the
wide world. I just don't remember it.
It was on the Wide World of Disney. It was these kids, they go on like this 10-year mission or something like that, and like the 40-year mission, and they're all kids, and then the adult crew all gets killed off, and then the kids end up taking control of the ship, and they find an old guy, Duncan Regier, and he's like in his 30s, and then it's like they kind of anyway, it was a show. It was like a pilot that never went further than like, and it became like a Wide World of Disney mini series. And when I was a kid, it was on all the time.
Ah, interesting.
I don't think Earth Star Voyager.
I did. I don't remember it. So I can't think of anything else news-wise that was like really big or breaking out. Of course, I followed the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial throughout the week.
Whatever way it goes, they both lose.
I mean, it's just, the closing arguments for both were like, we just want our lives back.
But there's going to be appeal after appeal after appeal. It's going to go on for.
I wouldn't be surprised. But what I found that was interesting, one, I just think like just watching the legal system in action is pretty fascinating. But watching the trial for anybody, there's a lot of people like, oh, I'm not going to watch that garbage. I don't watch that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, you actually learn quite a bit about, the Hollywood system. And it's interesting how much was confirmed, stuff that we take for granted or stuff that we report as rumors and whatnot. You get a lot of confirmations, people sworn under oath. Doesn't mean they couldn't still be lying, but you're actually getting, some very, very honest, open answers from, like Walter Hamada and all these different people that like came out and did depositions. was very fascinating to hear like kind of the thought process that went into casting and hiring and the film, and like some actual spoilers dropped throughout, including for, a lot of stuff for Aquaman 2 in terms of, basically they said the pitch was always for Aquaman 2 to be
I
like a
kind of
buddy
almost
comedy
felt
between
bad for. I almost kind of felt bad for her at that point, where they're like, well, the chemistry was off between the two, and
yeah, it's like very honest and kind of like blunt,
like she's been sidelined. She's not in it much in the next one. Like it's a buddy comedy between, and it makes sense. I mean, you watch those movies and they did have better chemistry, Wilson.
And here's the other thing too. I wrote a piece about this, which is, do we really want to see an Aquaman 2 that just has more of Momoa and Heard doing their thing? I mean, wouldn't it? Because it feels like their journey was kind of completed by the end. It's like, oh, they fell in love. Do we need to watch a whole movie of them like being a married couple? No, it'd be far more interesting to see Aquaman and Orm interacting together, because that was left open-ended at the end of Aquaman. So it's the best thread to pull. So even if like it was a chemistry issue, it still makes more sense for them to follow that story than to follow, oh, here's another one with, Momoa and Heard as co-leads. It just works better with Orm. And ultimately, Mira just wasn't that compelling of a character. And the truth is, I didn't have a problem with her in Aquaman.
I thought she was fine. I thought she was totally fine.
I didn't have a problem with her. I thought she was fine. But it just sounds like ultimately they had other ideas for where to go. But it does sound like her role was scaled back in the process. And maybe they're just not admitting that that's the reason that it was cut back. And I think that's probably, there's some truth to that, because apparently she had some action sequences initially and then the script changed, which is interesting that, she was basically, cut down. But she was asked back and she was paid, she was paid the same amount, but her role wasn't increased. So, and it was interesting to hear, it's again, in these kind of trials, you really get to hear kind of the business side of these things and like what they're
but then it's almost unfair, because then you have like the management saying, we expected her to be on the level of Ana de Armas or Gal Gadot, and or they're dropping these names. It's like, but why would you think that though? Like, what has she done that would really lead you to think that that was what she was going to be? Aquaman,
like
they're selling her like a product, but it's like, what has she done in terms of work up to that point though that was really worth saying that she could be capable of something like that though? Because there's nothing really. I think Aquaman is probably the closest that she's gotten. It's the best she's ever been in a movie, was probably an Aquaman.
Well, I mean, and the best acting she's ever done has been on The Stand, not the TV show. So I mean, her, watching her up in court was actually more compelling than watching her in any other movie.
Well, they were selling her like a product, and it's just kind of like, why is it that she got plucked out of nowhere to become like this star? It was because of him. Like that was it. It was, she's a beautiful woman and stuff like that, but I don't think that she's necessarily.
Well, she hasn't acted in anything where you're like, oh man, she was fucking amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, she's
not like Zendaya in Euphoria or something. It's
exactly.
People that are putting out
she's
these amazing performances that are nuanced and bold and all this other stuff. She's Amber Heard. She's beautiful. She shows up and she plays like these sexy roles, but that does not guarantee. And even Ana de Armas, you could say, oh, she shows up for these sexy roles, but like, look at her in Knives Out. Look at her in,
she has a much deeper range, I think, and she also has a different kind of presence, even in Bond, where she can be funny too. She has a lot of, there's a lot of things that she can do. And I think that somebody like Gal Gadot, it's the aspect that there's nobody really like her, like it's kind of, it's she's unique in some ways, and I think Ana de Armas is too. But then if you look at, like you said, Zendaya, or even like Margot Robbie or something like that, or Anya Taylor-Joy, I couldn't see Amber Heard being in The Northman. I don't think she would have been able to pull it off. No. I couldn't imagine her in, even Wolf of Wall Street. I don't think she would have been as good as Margot Robbie was.
She hasn't been challenged that way, and I just don't think that she could. I don't think she has.
I don't know if she'd be able to deliver like they could, and it's she's beautiful, but it's just that she's as beautiful as any of them. But at the end of the day, that's just not enough.
That's just not enough.
It's funny that you said Zendaya though. It's like, I mean,
like Zendaya can act her ass off.
She's the real deal. Like you watch Euphoria, that's a great actress. She
truly. And she's somebody that you project. She's somebody you do. Like I expect great things from Zendaya. I'm like, this woman is going to star in so many projects. If she's this good now in Euphoria, just imagine what she's capable of 10, 20, 30 years
Yeah.
from now, the kind of projects that she's going to do.
I think everybody's really good on Euphoria, though. Even Sylvia Sidney, I thought really impressed me last season. And then I watched her in the white, what is it? The White Lotus. And it's a very different kind of role. And
You're talking about.
Sydney Sweeney, yeah, she has a really kind of interesting range too. Like I thought of her as like kind of the hot girl in the first season, but then it's like there are layers there. It's much more,
She's really
like she was great in the last season, but they're all really good.
Yeah,
the one everybody loves, Laura loves, is Jacob Elordi. They all like that guy.
Oh yeah, imagine if he used his Australian accent in that show. They'd be done for.
Yeah.
So what are you watching this week, Chris?
Well, I mean, as I already said, I was watching Stranger Things. I watched this crazy documentary on
Always with those
on Netflix called Our Father. Have you heard of that?
Nope, I haven't heard.
There's a doctor at a fertility clinic who basically impregnated all his patients.
Oh, and I've heard of the story. I've heard.
And it's like in like a small town, right? So like there's a real chance of intermingling and intermarriage, and it's fucked up. There was that, and then definitely worth watching. Finished Winning Time, which I thought was great. I really liked that.
Is it over? Okay.
It is. Well, the first season is, and I thought it was great. I really liked it. I thought Riley, some of the best acting he's done in a long time, as Jerry Buss. I thought he was terrific. And it's funny because Farrell, apparently that's what ended his relationship with McKay, because he wanted to play that role. I don't think Farrell would have been as good though. I don't think he can be, because the thing about Riley is his character can be an asshole, but he's also kind of charismatic and compelling in a way that you like him. And I don't think that Farrell could do that. I think Farrell would just come off as an asshole. That's the problem. Or they would soften him too much. Whereas Riley, there's a certain empathy to him, like behind the eyes, where you'll stay with him for anything, regardless of what he's like.
Yeah.
Finished Better Call Saul. The first ends on a huge cliffhanger.
Oh, it's like mid-season, right? Mid-season finale.
Yeah. And on a massive cliffhanger. It was amazing. And watched I've been watching Barry as well. Barry's very good this season. Barry's gotten very dark.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, very dark. Well, I mean, Barry was always kind of the villain of the show, and this season's doubled down on it. Like he's a sociopath and he's evil.
Nice. Yeah.
And I watched Crocodile Dundee the other night.
What's that?
I watched Crocodile Dundee 2 the other night.
I love Crocodile Dundee 2.
Me too.
The first two Crocodile Dundees are a lot of fun. They're a blast.
What are the chances of you walking out of here with that jacket? Yeah, than average. my buddy Paul. Oh, Chris. Oh, Mike. How you doing, mate? Oh, good. How are you, Paul? Good. Good on you, mate.
Man, I used to love the Crocodile Dundee movie. It's such
a fun interview.
It's such a weird like series that took off, like one of the weirdest hits ever.
Well, I mean, the first one is a great movie, and I like the second one too, but the first one is really, really good. And I had a great interview with him like about a year or so ago, and he was a really fun guy to talk to, and it was kind of in the middle of COVID. He was at home bored, and he ended up talking for like an hour. We just ended up like kind of shooting the shit after the interview, and he was a great guy.
What a nice boy.
How about you? What have you been watching?
So I watched Love, Death, and Robots season 3, and it is amazing. I absolutely loved it. There's only one that I didn't really care for, but totally just a knockout season. Some really brilliant animation all around. You get some David Fincher in there. You got Tim Miller. And the last episode, which the name is escaping me, but it is this. The animation is, we use the word mind-blowing, right? We throw that term out all the time, like, oh, it's mind-blowing. I felt like I was watching something that I truly had never seen before. The animation style, I couldn't tell if it was real. I couldn't tell if it was animated. And then I was like, that's definitely animated. And then it literally just played tricks with my mind in the best possible way, where it's like, we get to this point now where we've seen so many spectacles and special effects things where you're just like, yeah. And I'm watching something, I'm just like, what am I seeing? Like my brain is like, bro, we need to catch up here. We don't have this one filed yet. And it was an amazing watch, that final episode. And then just the other ones too were great as well. Just fucking bloody, gory, cool, creative, trippy, just wild. But that last episode really is a great finish for the season. And all I can say is, for people that love animation, that if you're looking for something like these little bite-sized bits of awesome, animated stuff, Love, Death and Robots is great. I hope they just never stop making it. Truly, like, it's so fucking good. And again, it's like something you could go back, you could put from season 1 to season 3 and just let them play. And it's just such a great, diverse amount of animated styles and everything. And it's just so fucking cool. And I was just so happy that they pulled it off yet again. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
One more thing I saw that I forgot to mention. I saw Crimes of the Future, the David Cronenberg movie.
Did you watch the whole thing or did you walk out?
No, I watched the whole thing. Of course I did. I mean,
there's a lot of walkouts at Cannes over that.
Yeah, I mean, it's gross, but I didn't think it was that heavy though. I think that, like, next to Titan, it's almost like, child's play. The thing is though, Cronenberg, I didn't love it, and I was thinking when I was watching it, I am really hit and miss on Cronenberg.
Well,
I have affection for him.
He's hit and miss.
I mean, I like Cronenberg. It's funny when I think of Cronenberg, I like him when he pulls back a little bit, almost. Like my favorite
History of Violence.
Yeah, History of Violence and Eastern Promises. I thought were amazing movies, and I like old school Cronenberg, like The Fly and Scanners and Videodrome. I think The Fly is his best movie. Crimes of the Future, to me, it was like on the level of Maps of the Stars and Cosmopolis, and I didn't love either of those movies. So it's kind of, I almost wish he would do something more in the vein of History of Violence, because I think he's a great storyteller with the occasional flashes of violence. I like that, how that works sometimes in his movies.
History of Violence.
Crimes of the Future is awesome. Just weird shit, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. I loved History of Violence and The Fly.
I mean, the acting is good in it. It's really good, but it's just, Leah Seydoux totally steals the movie, but it was just kind of, it
just looks like a weird Cronenberg movie.
I mean, it is. That's what it is. And if you like Cronenberg and you like weird Cronenberg movies, then then by all means. But it's not. I mean, I'm glad I saw it, but I wouldn't necessarily watch it again.
Outside of Love, Death and Robots, the only other thing I watched was Man of Steel, and I was watching it with the girls, and I found that they were really immersed in it. And every time I watch Man of Steel, I am reminded to it holds up so well. It's 2013. So we're past the 10-year point, but the special effects in Man of Steel are fucking sharp. Like, it is truly, like, I don't know, I want to say ahead of its time, maybe not ahead of its time, but it just holds up exceptionally well. And I'm looking at it and I'm like thinking, man, this was kind of right into the heyday of the superhero movies taking off. It started in 2008 with Iron Man, and then they just started gradually going up. And I feel like it's actually, it's one that just holds up so fucking well.
My suspicion is that we'll see Cavill return as Superman before long. I think happen.
Now that there's new management at Warner Brothers, that has a better chance of happening. And
there was a moment in the culture's time where they didn't want to do it. And I think that moment is past. And I think that we will see him again.
And while I was watching Man of Steel, I was thinking, I was like, man, if they did an announcement trailer or something and they showed Cavill back in that suit, I think that would be a stand up and cheer moment for fans at this point, because people are like, oh shit. Cause I feel like the foundation has been laid at this point. They're saying, oh, it's so hard to adapt Superman. It's like, you guys have Superman. Now you just need to use him. And I think that if people saw that he was back, they would be like, oh shit.
He'll be back. I'm kind of thinking he's maybe going to show up in Shazam. And if not, I would still say before maybe long,
even Black Adam, who knows? But
yeah, before long he'll be back.
I think so. I feel like Zaslav, the new WB guy, I think he's already said, like, why are we wasting Superman? Why are we not doing it? So I think we'll definitely see something sooner than later. And
well, I mean, I like what Michael Jordan, B. Jordan said. It's like, do you want to play Superman? No. You have a Superman. I'll play this other guy.
Dude, yeah. I mean, he's smart, dude. That guy, he knows what he's doing. And he's like, I'll play Val Zod, which is
one of the most movies I'm most excited to see this year. That was Creed 3. I'm very excited to see that. Come on. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Him and Jonathan Majors. You see the behind the scenes shots of Jonathan Majors?
Oh yeah,
he looks like fucking huge.
Him and fucking Michael B. Jordan, they look like superheroes, man. Like they're fucking
Interesting
they're
that Jordan
superhero
was
ready.
directing. But I
Huh?
feel like there's probably some tension there with Stallone, and I think that's probably why Stallone's not back. Like I read somewhere that on the last one, Stallone shot a lot of footage kind of on his own, and it didn't get used. And
Yeah,
I
there
think
was
that
a whole fight scene between him and Dolph Lundgren at the hospital that they cut.
I think there was some tension there, but I kind of understand it though, because it's Creed now, and I think that they almost need to not have Stallone in it. And I think that Stallone could go and do another Rocky movie though. Like I think he could probably
Train
pursue
somebody else. Yeah, like
yeah, I think
that's
he
what he was.
totally could do that, but it's just kind of, I am excited to see Creed 3 because it's really for me, it's the make or break moment for that franchise. Like it's either going to go on or it's going to come crashing down, and it's going to be Creed 3 is going to tell the story, because I think you need Michael B. Jordan has to be completely on board and needs to have a very strong vision, because he's going to be the anchor for the series, and I really hope he pulls it off though, because I'm rooting for him, because I like him. I think he's great. I think Majors is great too. I interviewed him once. He was a great guy. So I kind of hope it works out for both of them.
Yeah. I'm excited. I can't wait to see a trailer. I'm glad that Jordan has enough time to kind of work on it too, to like kind of refine it. He's got a good post period to get it done before November. That's a long time, and they already stopped shooting. So, plenty of time to refine it and make it the best film possible. So I'm down with it. So with that, shall we take some questions, Chris?
Sure.
Let's do it. I got a question from Jeremy. He says, first off, please don't spoil Top Gun Maverick. We didn't really spoil it per se. I don't
watch the episode, Jeremy.
Best Ray Liotta movie. Shit, we didn't even talk about Ray Liotta dying.
Yeah, that was sad. I was talking to Alex Mady when it was at Star Wars Celebration. You'd interviewed him not long ago for Hannah.
Yeah, it's
I mean, best Ray Liotta movie. Okay, the best is Goodfellas, but if we're talking about maybe underrated Ray Liotta movies, the ones that come to mind for me, there's No Escape, which I posted my best movie you never saw about it the other day. I reposted it. And that one was one I always liked, because that was the first Ray Liotta movie I saw when I was young, because I guess I was a little too young when Goodfellas first came out, and then I saw Ray Liotta, and I liked the intensity he brought to that role, because he plays the hero like he's a villain, and I kind of liked that, because I didn't know, he seemed a little too squirrely to be a hero, and that was something that I really responded to.
Well, and that was one of his only heroic roles too.
But I liked that because it was such unconventional casting, and I think it really paid off. And I thought he was great in that role. And you bought him. Like I like when he gets brought into the prison and he's like, "Have you anything to add, Brennick?" And he goes, "Yeah, don't ever turn your back on me again." Like I like the way he delivers his dialogue. I thought he was really cool. And then and I like the beginning, the first shot in the movie too, where just the military parade, he walks up the guy and blows his brains out. Like that was a pretty cool way to start a movie. And that was what got Martin Campbell Goldeneye.
Yeah.
Because it's a cool movie. And Stuart Wilson is so good as the villain in that.
Yep. Stuart Wilson, Lance Henriksen. It's a good cast.
Yeah. Ernie Hudson, Kevin Dillon, Ian McNeice, like a huge cast of British actors too. Kevin J. O'Connor, he's great in it as well.
Yep.
I also love Copland. I always thought he totally stole Copland from Stallone and De Niro and Keitel. Like the character I loved in that movie. The character
in that movie too, you just like, and I think that's a common thing with Yoda, is that he played his roles where you never really knew if he was good or bad.
Yeah.
He really, every role you're like, he could go either way. And like Copland was one of those ones where I was like, I kept expecting him to be bad, like to show his colors as being evil. And it turns out, no, he comes up and, saves the day at the end.
And Ray Liotta in those two movies, I still think is probably the screen's most realistic cokehead. Like, because he's got that look like the bloodshot.
He was that in Goodfellas too. He was
like you've been up for days. Like he's got that look, right? Like the functioning cokehead thing. He's got that down.
Yeah, he was
in both movies.
And
I love the scene in Copland when he's driving and he's looking in the rearview mirror and he goes, "Shut the fuck up, would you please?" He's talking to himself.
I loved him in a movie that does not
Narc is great too.
Narc is great. I loved him. I think his most recent performance that I loved was Observe and Report.
Oh yeah, he's great in
So
that.
fucking good in that, and he just does.
Well, I mean, he was
credit.
really good in Marriage Story as well. He was terrific in that movie.
Again, observe and report. When
He's also got
Seth
that he just
Rogen
wrapped
fight,
a mini
it's
series.
hilarious.
He wrapped a mini series with Taron Egerton, which apparently is really good. And he was I just saw him in there was something else that he wrapped too that he was in. Like he's got a couple of high profile movies.
I mean,
but I love, I love Unlawful Entry. I always think of John Fallon.
That's another one. I
Unlawful
did a piece on Screen Rant of like the five best Ray Liotta movies outside of Goodfellas, and it was Unlawful Entry, No Escape, Narc, Observe and Report, and Copland. So
Alan used to always do that scene where he's with the prostitute and he throws it out of the car. He used to always do that when he got drunk. He would go through that scene and it was great.
He's great. I mean, again, it's a perfect kind of Ray Liotta role where it's like,
oh,
you want to
Something Wild. Something Wild is really good too. Do you ever see Something Wild?
I've never seen Something Wild. It's one of those ones.
Something Wild. That was the movie that put him on the map. And like you can see why. Like he just captures the screen like in a way that's incredible when you watch that movie. And it was kind of his first big role, and he just shows up like fully developed, and he just really like is so compelling to watch in that film. I mean, that's what really made him a star. I think that scene, like it wasn't that it was even a hit, but it was the people that saw it, they were like, wow, and that got him Goodfellas.
Yeah, it tends to happen. So small roles where you make an impression, it just leads to something bigger.
And then I always liked him in Karina, like as a nice guy kind of role with Whoopi.
Yeah, I never saw Karina.
Oh yeah, it's kind of a nice movie.
I remember when it came out, like the summer it came out, it just wasn't really up.
But then I remember him in Operation Dumbo Drop, and it's like just too intense for a children's movie. Like because he always looked like he wanted to slit your throat.
Yeah, and again, you're like, he's really charming, but you don't trust him for shit.
No, you don't trust him. That was always his thing. Yeah, super charming, but
like he's really funny, and he's got that, but he just has that devilish charm. That's what I think Ray Liotta excelled at.
Well, he always reminded me a lot of my buddy Paps in town. Like he was like that. Like there was this thing about him, like it's just, yeah.
Ulysses says, not movie related, but what are you guys doing over the summer?
I mean, a lot of work and a lot of traveling, I think. I'm going to VidCon next month, probably Comic-Con after that. A lot of work. It's going to be a busy summer. There's going to be a lot going on, prepping for TIFF, and we're doing a lot of stuff at the site. We've got some new initiatives that we're following. So a lot of work.
A lot of work. For me, normal work. I'm going to Utah this summer. Going to go to Zion. Going to Vegas next month.
Oh, nice. Oh, where are you going? Where are you staying in Vegas?
The Link. We're gonna stay at the Link. We were
gonna stay at
Caesars, but Caesars was like way too expensive, and we were just gonna stay for a couple nights. We're like,
the Link's nice.
So we're actually gonna fly into Vegas. We're gonna do a couple days on the Strip. I'm actually bringing my son, so it'll be like PG.
How long are you staying on the Strip for?
2 nights, and then we're gonna drive back to Salt Lake City, but we're gonna stop at Zion National Park on the way and go do some exploring there, and then head back to Salt Lake City.
I was on the Strip for 5 days about a month ago for CinemaCon. That was way too long. And then the time before that, it was like 6 days, and that was
every time I went to CinemaCon, I always stayed an extra 3 days after just to like hang out on the Strip.
And there was always a mistake. Yeah, exactly. It
was perfect. I definitely got in trouble in Vegas. Let's see, Shimone, what are some of the best legacy sequels and most underrated ones? I think Trainspotting 2 falls into the underrated category.
I agree.
I think Trainspotting 2 I think about that movie frequently, actually. It's kind of like Top Gun Maverick in that way, that it's like the grown-up version of these characters, and it's a sobering view of what they become, and it's not even like that they all became these horrible people. It's like, in many ways, it's like they kind of became normal. Many of them, and you're like, wow, okay.
Well, because the thing is, you either become normal or you die when you leave.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't sustain that kind of life. Like you're gonna burn out. In terms of legacy sequels, I guess stuff. The easy answer is always Terminator 2, which is one that I think carries. I think Terminator 2 in many ways surpasses Terminator. Which is and I think it's because they do so many new things and take the story in so many new directions. Whereas something like Top Gun Maverick, I feel is more of a love letter rather than something that takes and changes everything and takes it into the future. It's more of like it's just a great film. It does a lot of great technical things.
Think of legacy sequels. I always think of Never Sin Ever Again. The old Bond coming back.
Are the Bond movies sequels though? They feel like they're just more serial.
Never Sin Ever Again is a sequel to the old Connery movies. I think I've always viewed it that way.
Yeah. Outside of that, like, I don't know, man. Like sequels are tough. Like they're just tough, and then like usually if there's a sequel, there's multiple sequels at this point, so it's like there's just
I think Bad Boys for Life was a good legacy sequel.
Yeah, Bad Boys for Life
opened up the franchise in different ways, and I think they should get back to it, and
well, hopefully they will, but Will Smith's got to be in movie jail for a little bit before he can come back. Yeah. Oh shit. Let's see. Max Byrne. Now that Top Gun Maverick is out and is a hit, what other films would you like to see get sequels several decades after the original's release? One we always talk about for me is Point Break. Like, I think that Point Break deserves a sequel.
I think they could do that beautifully. If you get Reeves back, you can totally. I think that would be an amazing movie.
Everything hinges on Reeves coming back, and I know they had talked about doing a series. I think it should be a film. And I think it should be Catherine Bigelow directing. And I think you take Keanu Reeves and put him in the Bodhi role, but not as a villain, as like Bodhi as he should be realized.
Yeah, if he had achieved what Bodhi had wanted.
Exactly.
And that was, but I wouldn't want it unless Bigelow did it, though. That's the thing. But if Bigelow did it, like, it would be amazing.
Bigelow, Reeves, don't turn him into a villain, and don't make it a thing where he's got to pass the torch. The original thing was like, oh, he's got a daughter and she's in the FBI, and it's the like, stop doing that. Like, just make it a story about Johnny Utah and who he's become and him getting pulled back into something. Rather, it's like the whole thing now is always about, well, we've got to pass the torch to a kid. Like, no, you fucking don't. Stop doing that. I would love to see a Point Break sequel that delivers on that and
do what Matrix, the new one, didn't do. Like, go the opposite way.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to go. So that's all the questions that we have, and that is all the time that we have for this episode. So thank you guys all for joining us. Hope that everybody's going out and seeing Top Gun and enjoying it. I will say, just as I tweeted, I was like, if you don't go see Top Gun in the theater, like, don't tell me you love movies. And I know that people are like, oh, just know,
if you've been waiting for one movie to go see, this is the one to go see.
Yeah, like, just go see it in a theater.
Yeah.
You'll be grateful that you did. It may not make it your favorite Top Gun movie, but it's going to be a great experience, I promise. So
it will be.
Go and enjoy it. Outside of that, I hope that everybody finds something fun to watch. There's a lot of shit coming out this summer. Things are starting to roll out, so get out there and see it. Love what you love and enjoy it. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for joining us.
All right, Paul, have a great wedding, man.
Thanks, buddy. You'll see our pictures on social media. Don't you worry.
All right, man. Take care.
Cheers, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Buddy.